All right, this video, as promised, is going to be on wrapping a point rather than a tumbled stone. Last time we did a very round, regular, pretty consistently shaped stone. This time, this is a double terminated opalite point. So these are actually one of my other favorites to wrap besides a completely rounded stone, just because the top is pointed, so it's easy to not have to focus on centering your bail. And I think last time I said that when I cut my wire length that I cut about 1 foot for each strand, and that's actually not true. I did end up measuring. It's about 9 inches or so that I cut, but sometimes you can get away with a little bit shorter if your stone is super small. And sometimes I do end up going a little bit longer if it's a larger piece. And then for this point, I'm cutting 3 strands of wire. Reason being that the shape of this is skinny. So number one, it's skinny and it's a little tall. I don't really know how else to explain why I chose 3 wires. I feel like it's just how I attach each wire as I go up this point. It's just very consistent looking. There's not big gaps. It's not like consumed by wire. You'll kind of see as we get wrapping. But I did take my one piece to start, bent it in half, not a hard bend, but just keep that curve in there. And then take my other 2 and bend those also in half to find the center. Take these 2, and then again, wire over wire, and twist 1, 2 times. And then we're gonna make that same hoop, which is gonna be our base. Wire over other wire. And basically, when you're making the base, again, you just want to make sure that you're making it smaller than the width of whatever you're wrapping. That way the stone doesn't slip through. So something like that should suffice. But since we're using 3 wires, instead of this being even and me tying it or wrapping it right here, I'm actually going to try to evenly space my 3 wires. So I'm going to pull this into a more triangular shape. Twist once, twist twice, and then you'll see what I mean about the evenly spaced wires when I slip this 3rd piece through that hole. Hang on to it, and then wrap once, wrap twice, and then hopefully you can kind of see that 3 wire, how they're kind of evenly spaced. This is the tricky part again, is since this one is not stationary and it moves, you'll want to slip the point in, keep this loose wire kind of centered even between the others, bend these flat against the stone, wire over wire, don't pull too tight, wrap, wrap. And then I'm going to turn it. I'm going to make sure that this little piece is still centered where I want it to be. Hold these against the stone, wrap, wrap, and then turn it, and wrap, wrap. So you can see how the stone stays in place because the hoop that I made for the base is too small for the stone to slip through. And now we're just going to keep turning it as we wrap it. 1, 2. These are just a little harder because the wires tend to cross a lot because it is skinnier. All the wires are closer together. One and two. One and two. And I always just try to keep the wires pressed up against the stone. One, two, and one and two. So here's what we have so far. It's just very symmetrical. You could do 4 wires on this guy. The only difference being you would have smaller holes. I don't know what you want to call these, honeycomb looking shapes. They would be smaller and just kind of more consuming the stone rather than, I don't know, I just feel the 3 wires total is a nice cohesive look for this shape, which this shape, tall and skinny, is pretty common, just as the round stones are. Okay, so in the last video, I had mentioned be careful how high you keep wrapping these, joining the wires, but I actually do tend to do one more, see if I can manage to make it fit and work. Yes. 1, 2, and then I like 3 for my final wrap. Wires. Okay. One, 2, 3. And finally, 1, 2, 3. Pretty. Okay, so I would take this time to kind of pick what I would like to consider the front. So I'm thinking right here. This is how I want it to lay on someone. So again, just try to kind of pull everything upward. Get one of these guys off to the side. And then take these, kind of give it a 1 spin around, leave one straight up in the air. And then that's where I'm going to make my bail. Where the necklace will go through is by taking this piece now and just, not tightly, but twisting these together, make a nice strong bail. And then if this is my front, I'm just going to straighten this guy out a bit. And take your round nose pliers, or whatever, you can even use a small, like an Allen wrench I used to use, or a pencil, whatever you want to make that circular bail. Hold this down here. Bring this in. And then I come around. A couple times. Follow with this one. And then pick a side. Start wrapping this wire through and twisting it on one side of the bail. I usually do about 3 before I cut it. make sure you don't have that end poking out. And you can reshape your bail too. There we go. And snip it. And if you can see that little sharp piece hanging out, just twisting it around until it's flat against the other wires and is not poking out anymore. And then these are the back ends. Easy part again, we're just going to wrap it around. Keep in mind how thick you want your bail to be. Here's what we have so far. So I'm going to go around the base. Snip it. Tuck it over. Make sure it's smooth. And I'm going to start making this a little more even now. All right, take a step back, see where we're at. I don't know, I really do like wrapping this shape. I feel like they go a little quicker. It's obviously only 3 wires as opposed to 4 for anything like round stone related. So it's less wrapping toward the end that you have to do. The bail work seems to take the longest, just kind of tying all the loose ends, if you will. But it's just a pretty shape. It makes a pretty design by the end of it. Just really cohesive and symmetrical. Tuck that around. And then, yeah, nothing sharp. And there you have him. Focus. There we go. So yeah, one of my favorite shapes. Leave any questions if you have them in the comments. And I don't know what we're going to wrap next time, but it's definitely going to be another different shape. I'm going to try to stick with something different every single time because there's stones that are super irregular, just kind of rough by nature, kind of awkwardly shaped. Anything is wrappable, I promise, unless it's like huge. Then it's just probably better on a shelf. But anyway, like and subscribe if you did indeed enjoy this, and then you will kind of get notified every time I upload a new one of these, which I do plan to stick to weekly, and I do plan to do something different a little bit every single time until we have to get into repeats. But like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.